Coming up on This Week in Hockey East, BU and BC are ranked again on the women's side. First time they've played each other ranked in 5 years, plus a good matchup with UNH and Northeastern, and plenty more around Hockey East. That's all coming up on This Week in Hockey East. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of This Week in Hockey East. Great to be back with you. Great to be here for another show. And it'll certainly be hard to top last week's Friday night Hockey East on Nesson game, but we're going to try as the New Hampshire Wildcats and Northeastern Huskies will start their home-and-home series. Bridget, let's start with a finally healthy Northeastern team. That's probably the biggest news, number one, and we're really excited to see how they take off here now that they're at full strength. What stands out to you about the Huskies?
Well, they get two key defensemen back for one, like you mentioned, the team getting healthier as a whole. They had a week off to get guys more rest, and then they played this weekend series against Providence where some guys got to come back in the lineup, and that includes defensemen Joaquim LeMay and Jake Boltman. They both impacted Friday's game in a big way. They helped get that extra point for Northeastern in the shootout win. Head coach Matt Harlow, or assistant coach Matt Harlow from Northeastern said there were two huge additions for us on the back end, and he called Jake Boltman a warrior with a huge block on the PK in overtime on Friday night. So getting those two guys back and healthy could help solidify this Northeastern defense, as well as hopefully stop some more goals from coming in on net. And some offensive things to look at in a positive way. Cam Lund had a 5-point weekend. He had 4 on Saturday, a goal and 3 assists. On a 6-game point streak, the only game that he hasn't scored in this season was the very first game of the season against Stonehill. So he's been really consistent over the past 6 games and really the season as a whole. He has 9 points in his 7 games played. And Jerry Keefe saying this is the best that he's seen Cam Lund play in his career so far. And when Lund was asked, what's different about his season this year, he said he went back and watched some tape from last season, and he noticed he was passing up on some shots, maybe making the extra pass, not being as shot ready. So now you see him correct that, and it's worked out for him so far in the early parts of the season. Some other guys whose offensive numbers are very encouraging. Jack Williams has 10 points in his 7 games played. He had a 4-point weekend against Providence College. And Joe Connor scored his first collegiate goal on the weekend. He's been doing the little things right, and now he finally gets rewarded with that first goal. But some of the issues still remain for Northeastern in terms of special teams, and that's something that they're going to have to clean up this weekend when they play against UNH. If you look at their numbers on the penalty kill, they're 65.5%. That's last in Hockey East. They gave up 5 power play goals in Saturday night alone in the 6-5 loss to Providence College. So that was a tough weekend for the penalty kill. And their power play percent sits at 13%. That's second to last in Hockey East. So those are some things for Northeastern to work on against UNH this weekend.
I really feel like that power play is going to come. Jerry Keefe has been too good at it over the years. And, I remember going to practice like over a month ago now, and they have so many different guys. And one of the things last year that made them so good down the stretch was they basically had 2 full power play units. It was not just one. And they have a lot of guys that feel like they could be good power play players. It's just about mixing and matching and finding the right combination of 5 each way. But I think they have a chance. Let's not forget, they've maybe played the hardest schedule in the country so far, right? Denver, Maine, and now Providence last week. Providence has been really good as well. So we'll see what they do this week, now back healthy against a UNH team. Just 1 game last weekend for UNH, a little bit of a get-right game for the offense against LIU. And I think they needed that, right? Nice game for Robert Cronin. He scored 2 goals, his first 2 of the season. He also had a couple of assists in the Quinnipiac win a couple of weeks ago. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then Ryan Conmee, he just feels like the guy for UNH, right? A goal and an assist. He's been very solid, 5 goals in 6 games. He had 2 against Providence last week. And, the thing that's been really impressive for him is his shot numbers. He has 33 shots. He has 5 or more 4 times. He's a guy that I keep looking at. He's really important to the power play. And when UNH is right, their power play is working, right? And that's what happened against LIU. 2 power play goals, 8 shots on their power play opportunities. They also, I thought, did a really nice job with how they limited shots. And this is something that, if you watched our show last year, Tyler and I talked about all the time with UNH. What made them so good last year? they just didn't give up shots. They were top 5 nationally in fewest shots allowed. Well, if you look at their games so far, Bridget, in 3 losses this year, they're giving up 30 shots per game. In their 3 wins and a tie, they're giving up 20 shots per game, right? That's a pretty significant difference. So that's something to look at. And it ties into what you're talking about it with Northeastern and getting right, because Northeastern last week against Providence, 42 shots and 36 shots. So which one of those 2 games kind of win out? It'll be really interesting to see, but it should be a good matchup. Northeastern against UNH. We'll have the Friday version of that game as part of Friday Night Hockey East on NESN. We have a huge game Saturday as well. First time in 5 years, we have a ranked matchup on the women's side between BC and BU. We'll talk about that on the other side on This Week in Hockey East.
Hello and welcome back inside This Week in Hockey East. I'm Bridget Prue alongside Eric Galanti, and we have a good matchup between BC and BU to preview this Saturday, our Saturday night game on NESN, a 4:30 puck drop between number 11 Boston College and number 14 BU. Eric, let's first go through what BC's been able to do this season.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And boy, it is amazing what a difference one weekend could make in changing the trajectory of a season. But here we are talking about Boston College being ranked. And as we said, the first ranked matchup between BC and BU in 5 years. You have to go back to early December 2019, our first of 2 shout outs to at BU Hockey Stats on X for that nugget. The thing that's amazing about this Boston College team, right? It's 7 wins in a row. It's 5 straight in Hockey East. They go up to Maine. They sweep last week. But Grace Campbell has reestablished herself in net, right? Early this season, they were switching a little bit, trying to find the right combinations. But Grace has really stabilized things recently. 63 saves and just 2 goals allowed in the 2 games against Maine. She had that season high 41 against Clarkson a couple of weeks back, that Clarkson sweep kind of sparking things here. And, for Boston College, they've scored 29 goals over this 7-game win streak, a goal margin of 29-11. That averages out to about just under 4.5 goals per game, 4.4. That would rank 4th nationally if you took that average over the full season. Even with their full season stats, they're 8th best not nationally and 1st in Hockey East in scoring. So you have the top offense against the top defense in Hockey East this week. They're also Boston College 1st in Hockey East in shooting percentage. So they have the most even strength goals. So they've been really solid. Not just, a really good power play is carrying them right now. No, they've been really solid overall. They've been really solid, even strength. I love the season that Abby Newhook's been having. 2 goals Saturday, 3 points total. She has points in all 7 games on this win streak, 3 goals and 7 assists. And most notably, she's been great at the faceoff dot recently, 62% over the 7 games of this weekend, of this winning streak, So it's a wonderful test this weekend against this BU team that's off to just a great start this year.
Yeah, really, it's a story of 2 hot teams running into each other for a weekend series, and who can come out on top, because both of these programs are experiencing good starts to the Hockey East portion of the schedule for sure. And they're both in contest for the top spot in Hockey East right now. It's within reach for Boston College, though BU coming into the weekend with that first place in the standings, and for a good reason. They've been unbeaten in the last 9 games. A credit to good goaltending from Callie Shanahan so far. She's been probably the best goalie in Hockey East in the early parts of the season, best goals against average in conference games, and she's also has the best record in net in the conference as well. So she's been leaned upon very heavily by Tara Watchhorn and this BU team having an outstanding start to the season. And I think you could say Tara Watchhorn seeing the pieces start to come together here for this Terriers team in her 2nd season as head coach.
Not only is it the rankings that make this matchup exciting, but the fact that both teams have played well enough to earn their positions to make it exciting. And that's why it should be really fun. Excited to watch you and Jimmy at 4:30 on Saturday.
Absolutely. And when we come back, we'll go around the other games in Hockey East, all coming up next on This Week in Hockey East.
Welcome back to our show. It's time to go around Hockey East, presented by Boston Harbor Hotel. Visit hockeyeastonline.com for your chance to win tickets and a 2-night stay at Boston Harbor Hotel. And tickets for Hockey's championship weekend on the line as well. Let's go around Hockey East. Let's talk about the Holy Cross women against UNH this week. Solid bounce back for Holy Cross last week, 2-1 overtime win at UVM on Saturday. Look, they've played a home and home with BC, a home and home with Northeastern, and a home and home against UConn 3 straight weekends. That is not easy. And even with a 1-4-1 record in those 6, 2 of the other of those games went to overtime. There's no shame in that, certainly. But if you look at what they've done against everybody else, they're 4-1 so far. Alexia Morrow's been really good this year. We've talked about her a lot. She scored the game-winning goal in overtime last week against Vermont. The biggest thing that really stands out last year to this year, what they've done in 1-goal games. This year, they're 3-1-1 after last year. They were 5-10-3. So that's a big turnaround this year. So they've really done a nice job. And even, against UConn, they only allowed 2 goals in each game. So in just the one against Vermont. They'll take on a UNH team for 2 games. The Cats are 6-5-1 entering the weekend. They split with Providence last weekend. UNH has actually split the last 3 weekends with Northeastern and Vermont as well. They've shown they can win in a lot of different ways, which stands out to me. They have that 2-0 win against Northeastern and then a 7-3 win against Providence in their very next game. But the biggest thing is that Kira Judikis has come on really strong lately. Has goals in her last 2 games, 6 points in her last 3 after she had just 1 point in her first 9 games of the season. Hockey's 3rd-team All-Star from last year. She's such an important piece. She was 5th last year in goals in Hockey, so she matters quite a bit. New Hampshire's penalty kill has been awesome, over 91% this year. Somehow it's only 3rd best in Hockey East, despite being 5th best nationally. Northeastern's also been very good on the penalty kill, and I know you're looking at their game this week.
Yeah, so my game to preview, Maine at Northeastern. 2 teams had very different seasons so far, 2 different starts to the Hockey East schedule. We'll start by covering what Maine's been up to recently. So they had 2 games against number 13 BC and Orono last week. They dropped both of those ones. Maine managed a goal in each of those games. They came from Gracie Hansen and Alyssa Rubble. Maine outshot BC in both of those nights. So they were able to get those shots off, but they weren't able to finish on some of those chances that maybe they needed to see go in to try to make that a more competitive weekend against Boston College. So the Black Bears have now lost 7 of their last 8 games, and they're coming in to play a Northeastern team that is trending in the right direction. They're coming off 2 shutout wins, both 1-0 wins against UConn. No surprise really that those were low scoring games, 2 of the best defensive teams in the conference, and you could probably argue nationally just based off the way that they're coached. They both have this structure and focus on team defense. So Northeastern coming in, back-to-back shutouts for the freshman, Lisa Janssen, in her first weekend series that she started. So we're starting to see a change in net for Northeastern. They started with Paige Taborski more. She is the veteran of the 2. And then freshman Lisa Janssen getting in and kind of stealing the show. So she's able to put up 61 saves on 61 shots against UConn this weekend. She is our Jersey Mike's a sub-above player of the week, and the win shot Northeastern into 2nd place in the Hockey East standings. They still sit just outside the top 15 rankings, but with another good weekend against Maine, I think we see them bump right into the UACHO.com poll again.
We'll have plenty more to come. You're watching This Week in Hockey East. Welcome back around Hockey East. Let's talk about UMass Lowell, right? A split with BU. Each team earned a road win last week. 7 more goals for Lowell, including 5 in the win at Aganis on Friday. They're up to 3.9 goals per game, top 5 nationally. It's hard not to believe in this Lowell team, right? They're really playing well so far, and now they have a win to show for it. Their national leading power play still scored twice, by the way, in the Saturday game when they lost 5-2. They're 46%. Probably not going to keep that percentage up all year, but they've played pretty well. I think the thing that stands out, though, when we talk about trying to evaluate, is this offense as for real as we think it is? Well, there's a couple of different ways to look at it, but one of them is Owen Cole and Chris Delaney, who have been the 2 leading goal scorers so far. Neither one of them scored, and they combined for just 1 assist this weekend of 20 total points, goals and assists that Lowell had in the 2 games against BU. So showing you a little bit more of the depth of this Lowell offense, not just those two guys having such a really good year. They're good, and they've played really well so far and now have the win in Aganis to show for it. And now they have a really good road test at Vermont this week. And this is the thing you love about Hockey East, right? Were we talking about Lowell or Vermont very much last year? No, but now we're legitimately leading a segment talking about the men's games with these two teams because they both could be, maybe outside of BC and Providence, the two best teams going right now over the last couple of weeks in the league. You look at what Vermont's done recently, you're about to talk about Providence and how good Providence has been this year. Well, look at what Vermont did against Providence a few weeks ago, taking them to overtime a couple of times. Now they've built off of that, and look what they've done. They have a road split with UConn, and then they take 5 or 6 points against UMass last weekend. First of all, we talk about Axel Mangbo in goal. He's our night shift all-academic standout. He's played 3 of the last 4 games for Vermont, had a 30-save shutout against UConn 2 weeks ago, and now a 26-save shutout last week against UMass in his lone game. He was not necessarily thought of as the guy who was going to be the starter this year, but he's kind of hung around, earned his spot, and now he's certainly earning his chance to play. So this is a really sneaky good matchup in Burlington this weekend. I'm excited to see which one of these two teams, how they come out of this weekend.
Yeah, and my game is UMass against number 11 Providence. You mentioned Vermont having a good weekend against PC. Well, they really dominated in that series against UMass, which is where we'll start out in this matchup. So the Minutemen struggled in their weekend series against Vermont up in Burlington. They get off to slow starts in both games. They allowed the first goal in both of those games, resulted in a shootout loss on Friday and a 4-0 loss on Saturday. They're going to go up against one of the better teams in a very strong Hockey East conference, and that's number 11 Providence College. They had 2 very close games against Northeastern this weekend. It took extra time to decide both of them. It was a shootout loss for them on Friday, and then a very electric 6-5 overtime win on Matthews Ice on Saturday, and that win came thanks to freshman Trevor Connolly, as well as a great night for the PC power play. And I want to talk more about Trevor Connolly because of the weekend that he had. He had a 5-point night on Saturday, scored his first 2 goals of the season, added 3 assists as well, including scoring the game winner to end that one in overtime. And he had a 6-point weekend overall. That leads to him being named the Pro Ambitions Hockey East Rookie of the Week. And before that, he missed the previous 2 weeks with a lower body injury that he suffered against ASU. In total, he's only played 4 games out of the Friars' 9 games, but he already has 7 points in his young career with PC. And like I mentioned, PC had a great week on the power play. They scored 5. They were 5 for 8 on their power play, 6 power play goals on 11 power plays over the weekend against Northeastern, and that brought PC's power play percentage up quite a bit. They were 8th in Hockey East. Now they're 3rd in Hockey East in power play percentage, up to 27%. Nate Lehman continued to rotate his goalies. He started Svedback on Friday. He made 40 saves in the loss, and then Zach Borgiel started on Saturday, but was pulled after giving up 3 goals in 23 minutes. So Svedback entered the game, eventually got the win, and they've combined for a .921 team save percentage this season. That is 3rd best in Hockey East.
We're not going to be on the air before this game, so we wanted to shout out the fact that Providence is also going to host Boston College on Tuesday. That's a national broadcast on ESPNU. First time those two are meeting this year, 2 of the best teams in hockey. So that should be fantastic as well on Tuesday night. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through next week on our show. We'll be back for short shifts and to wrap up when you come back on This Week in Hockey East.
Welcome back to This Week in Hockey East. It's time for us to finish up with our short shifts presented by the Shift Group, helping former athletes and veterans become elite business professionals. Eric, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I got a couple of things that stand out. Number one, they're not playing this week, but I wanted to shout out Merrimack. Really good weekend with the sweep of UConn last week. Their offense came to life, scored 9 goals in the 2 games. Ethan Bono scored 3 times. Their goaltending was really good in that game. Max Lundgren was really solid, had 10 plus saves in all three periods on Friday, made 34 in total. Good stuff from Merrimack. I'm sure we'll talk about them a little bit more next week. They'll play BU and then be in Northern Ireland. Secondly, we talked a little bit about it. How good was that Boston College Maine game last week? I mean, if everything that you love about college hockey was in that game, and you talk about Maine, they're right back at it because they're at home against BU this weekend. BU got that big road win in game 2 against Lowell with a different goalie. Max Lacroix played for the first time. So I'm really interested to see what BU does up at Alphond against Maine, looking to bounce back from 2 decent performances, but they don't escape with any points from BC. So a couple interesting things. One final note on BU, by the way. First time they've dropped out of the top 10 nationally since November of 2022. That's our second shout out to BU Hockey Stats on X of the week. So that's a really interesting matchup this weekend.
And well, if you enjoyed that Maine BC game, maybe you caught it at the watch party at Night Shift, Eric. That was, an event that we held last weekend in combination with the conference as well as Night Shift Brewing. And if you liked it or if you felt like you missed out last weekend, you have another chance to join a watch party for Saturday's game at 4:30. So you can join Hockey East and Night Shift Brewing tomorrow at their Lovejoy Wharf location for a celebration of women's hockey during the Boston College and Boston University women's game on Nessens. Fans can be among the first to try Hockey East Ale, which I hear is very good. Haven't tried it yet, but I would love to. And be in attendance to win prize packs, including championship tickets. Find more information at hockeyeastonline.com.
And the reason you can't try it is because you'll be calling that game, and we look forward to watching you and Jimmy.
I can't be at the watch party because I will be broadcasting the game.
That's right. So we look forward to watching you on Saturday, and we look forward to watching Northeastern and UNH because that's coming up next here on Friday Night Hockey East on Nesson. Thanks so much for joining us for our show, and we'll talk to you next week.